we really had no idea what kind of response we would get. I simply said, here we are together in a different world. The whole point of what we do is to create another world. And so when we came in these doors, we stepped out of the world that we know too well and began to build together something new in Christ. We raised $15,000 in 20 minutes. The most powerful moment was when a woman who had brought her children with her from Los Angeles came and gave $20. I was sitting next to her pastor, and she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said she brought $40 with her for this trip to cover all the expenses. She gave half of it. I think about her when I think about Mary. Just the outpouring of Mary's love. I mean, not too long before, Jesus had been in this place, but it wasn't this kind of celebration feast, it was a funeral. Actually, Jesus was late for Lazarus' funeral. He was already dead. Jesus invited Mary to have faith, to trust that she would see the glory of God right before Jesus, raised Lazarus from the dead. And here we are, sort of given to compare Judas and Mary, her gift versus his stinginess, his bullying, his theft. I mean, Jesus is inviting us to live in another world. A world that he brings with him. A world that is very different from the world that we know so well. That was too far for Judas to go. Judas could only count the money. He could only think about what he was losing because what she was giving. Part of what's so significant about this moment here is that when Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, he threw the last spark in the tinderbox of resistance to him. And the whole Gospel of John is framed between two Passovers. On the first Passover, Jesus flips over tables in the temple, declares that God is going to transform this place and clear and make holy again what's happening here. The second Passover is when he's arrested, killed, crucified, rises again. So when John tells us that it's 6 days before the Passover, we are to know and to feel the risk that's being taken by everyone in this room. In the few verses before this, we're reminded that Jesus' enemies have put a target on his back. They're requiring everyone to say where he is, to rat Jesus out. And where is Jesus but here? Back at the scene of the crime, from their point of view. So maybe we would be wondering, what is it that would make Judas so angry, jealous, threatened by Mary's gift? And what would it be that would make Jesus' enemies so inflamed with rage and determined to kill him because he raised Lazarus from the dead? Does that? Why? Jesus invites us into another world. That's an invitation into Jesus himself. Over and over, Jesus invites his disciples, abide in me as I abide in you. Jesus talks about the depth of relationship between him and God the Father. This is the depth of relationship Jesus invites, wants with us. That's the world. The different world is Jesus himself and what we experience in relationship with Jesus. Letting go of the world we know so well, just enough that we can receive the life that Jesus has to give. I mean, that's what's so amazing about this world. This world that I think we all stepped through. When we stepped through that door, we were taking a step towards and deeper into this world of Jesus's. This world that is here, but not from here. This world that's where life is abundant. It's where the dead are reborn. Do you believe that? Do you trust that? That something happens here, and not just because it's within these walls, but because we're together in the presence of Jesus. And that something here happens that sets us apart from the rest of the world. And its insistence on the bottom line. Its responsive vengeance to even the smallest threats. Why would anyone resist? When Mary anoints Jesus' feet, she is preparing him. I mean, just as surely as all of Jesus' enemies are preparing his cross, Mary prepares Jesus. It was very common at a dinner like this for the host to have guests' feet washed. In fact, they didn't sit in chairs at a table. The table was about like this, and they all kind of reclined. So if I was laying down at the table and eating, my nose would be right beside your feet. So everyone would be glad that everyone's feet got washed. But this was what slaves did, wash people's feet. And they certainly didn't do it with the most costly and fragrant of perfumes. In Jesus' time and place, feet were symbolic, just like hearts are for us. Feet were symbolic of action, of the calling of God